La Lan's heart was already heavy with longing, yet her parents' endless, repeated advice chipped away at it. Initially, she bit her lip, trying to hold back emotions, but the constant refrain, "Eat well, take care of your husband, don't let trivial matters affect his future," filled her with a mix of warmth and helplessness. She understood their worries. A daughter marrying far away, heading to the bustling yet unpredictable capital, naturally caused concern. However, the more they spoke, the more she feared she wouldn't have the heart to leave. Finally, La Lan suppressed the urge to roll her eyes and gently pulled her younger sister, La Fu, aside. A little away from their parents' watchful eyes, she spoke in a hushed tone, her voice a blend of reluctance and excitement. "Once I'm settled in the capital, I'll write to you," she promised. "Any new clothes or jewelry there, I'll send you a share." La Lan continued, her eyes gleaming with a vision of the future. "If brother-in-law truly passes the imperial examination and gets an official post in the capital, you and the children can come up. I'll help you find a good marriage there, and we sisters can still be close." Their wealthy father-in-law had promised a small house in the capital if her husband succeeded. Though not grand, it was a warm, cozy home that symbolized a new beginning for La Lan, a life as a government official's wife. This house became her unwavering motivation to care for Bui Han Thursday, ensuring he ate well, slept soundly, and focused entirely on his studies for a smooth examination. La Fu clearly saw the joy and anticipation in her sister's eyes. She harbored similar hopes. Since childhood, her elder sister had always been her protector. If La Lan could truly establish herself in the capital, and if her brother-in-law succeeded as an official, it would not only bring honor to La Lan but also radiance to the entire La family. Even if La Fu couldn't borrow the spotlight of her brother-in-law to marry into the capital herself, she still wished for his success, so her sister could become an official's wife, fulfilling at least La Lan's dream. Responding to his in-laws, Bui Han Thursday faintly caught snippets of the sisters' whispers. He didn't turn around, but his heart tightened slightly. The weight of their expectations was not light. This single examination would determine his entire future, and this journey would decide his wife's future. Behind him, his own Bui family placed their complete trust, and before him, the La family watched with hopeful eyes. Yet, this very pressure also served as his greatest motivation. His years of diligent study would not be in vain. All that remained was to give his utmost. "Father, mother, please take care of yourselves. We shall depart now." The afternoon sun was already setting, casting long, golden rays across the dirt lane and bathing the old tiled roofs in a warm glow. La Lan bit her lip, embracing her younger sister and then her mother in turn. When she hugged La Fu, she squeezed a little tighter, as if to impart courage. Then, Bui Han Thursday helped her onto the horse-drawn carriage. The wheels began to turn. Two small heads peeked out from the carriage window, wistfully waving goodbye to their maternal grandfather and the other family members. The children weren't going to the capital, but with their parents gone, they wouldn't have a chance to visit their maternal grandparents in Hong Kio for several months. The sound of horse hooves gradually faded into the distance. The carriage grew smaller and smaller, until it was just a faint speck at the very end of the winding road. Von Thursday Noyet kept a smile on her face, but tears streamed down uncontrollably. She wiped her eyes repeatedly, but they kept coming. La Fu, too, felt a heavy heart. Since childhood, the two sisters had shared a bed, eaten from the same table, and confided every secret. From today onwards, the distance wouldn't be just a few steps within their home, but thousands of miles across mountains and rivers. Yet, she tried to reassure her mother, "Mother, you're crying already. When sister settles in the capital next year, and it's hard for her to come back, will you wash your face with tears every day?" Von Thursday Noyet chuckled through her tears. "That would be even better," she said, wiping her eyes. "I'd rather cry every day than wish for them to return." Her words, though seemingly a jest, were the most heartfelt blessing. To be far away meant to stand firm. Not returning meant they had found their own place. La Dine Nguyen cleared his throat, glancing at the neighbors who had come out to watch the commotion, and lowered his voice. "All right, keep these good wishes in your heart. Don't speak too much outside, lest your beautiful dreams come true and people become envious, or if they shatter, you'll be mocked." He spoke not because he didn't wish for his son-in-law to succeed, but because he understood human nature. In the countryside, joy and sorrow spread faster than the wind. Speaking too much was akin to placing one's hopes in the public square. Vong Thursday Noyet and La Fou glared at him simultaneously, both displeased with the latter half of his words. 19-year-old La Tong wanted to say something, but seeing his mother and sister walk arm in arm into the house, and his limping father following, he rubbed his nose and swallowed his words. As twilight deepened, Hongqiao village returned to its usual tranquility. Night fell. La Fou lay alone on her bed, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. The room, once so familiar and comforting, felt strangely empty tonight. She gently turned onto her side, gazing through the bed curtains towards the window, where the soft moonlight filtered in. The moon was the same as on previous nights, but within her heart, everything had changed. Her sister hadn't even reached the capital yet, and La Fou already missed her. Beyond the longing, a faint sense of restlessness and uncertainty stirred within her. Would her brother-in-law truly succeed in the imperial examination? That examination was a turning point for so many. Success meant instant elevation, failure meant waiting another 3 years. What about her own future? Would she ever have a chance to marry into the capital? In truth, it wasn't a strict necessity. If her sister hadn't painted such a vivid dream, a girl like her, who had never ventured more than 100 li from Guangling, would never dare to dream of the most prosperous city in the realm. The real cause of her restlessness was her age. She was 16. At 16, in the countryside, one was no longer considered a child. Since last year, matchmakers had constantly knocked on their door, bringing proposals from families in the county town, from neighboring villages, some scholars, some merchants. Even her sister had discreetly arranged for her to meet several rich young masters or talented scholars, leading to more than 10 unofficial viewings, yet none had pleased her. Some men's looks were too ordinary, making her feel unworthy next to her own beauty. Others came from humble backgrounds, their words revealing their calculating nature. Some, relying on a bit of education or influence, were arrogant and rude, their eyes looking at her as if they already had victory assured. And those who only saw her beauty, wishing to take her as a concubine, the mere thought sent chills down her spine. As the number of rejections grew, gossip began to spread in the village, saying she had her sights set too high, wanting a husband to the standard of her brother-in-law. La Fou admitted that perhaps, due to frequently seeing Bui Han Thursday, her standards had indeed risen. A scholar who was gentle, respectful to elders, tender to his wife, and courteous to his sister-in-law, such a perfect image had inadvertently become her benchmark. But even without a handsome, talented, and gentle brother-in-law like him, she and her sister were recognized beauties far and wide. What was wrong with a young, beautiful maiden wanting to marry a satisfactory gentleman? She didn't want to marry just because it was the right age, nor because people urged her. She refused to rush into handing her entire life over to someone who had never made her heart flutter, simply to avoid gossip. In short, she preferred to remain unmarried than to rush. Before finally drifting to sleep, La Fou quietly walked to the window. The autumn wind seeped through the gap, carrying the faint scent of ripe rice. The moon was still full, hanging silently in the tranquil sky. She clasped her hands together and whispered softly, "May my sister and brother-in-law find their wishes fulfilled." After a moment, she whispered even softer, "May I also find my wishes fulfilled." This wish was both vague and steadfast. She didn't know where the future would lead her, but at least on this moonlit night, she allowed herself to dream a dream wider than the fields outside her door. The moon above silently shone down on the peaceful Hongqiao village. Unbeknownst to anyone, in Quang Lang City, 30 miles away, a father and son were preparing to bring an old promise to the La family's door. And La Fou's destiny, from this moonlit night, had begun to change.